When you wake up tomorrow morning, possibly. It was nice and light and bright at about 4 a.m. this morning. But yes, daylight saving, some people love it, some people loathe it. It's a bit like a long weekend, isn't it? Not for everyone. For some people, they love that extra day to relax. A lot of people, I think, took yesterday off to make it an extra long weekend. But yes, a long weekend this weekend and plenty to come in the next half hour. We're going to get our running shoes on with our resident runner, Dave Robertson. And we're also going to head to Singleton to find out what's happening in that beautiful neck of the Hunter. But coming up next, it's time for the latest ABC News.
6:30.
Good morning, I'm Madeline Lewis with ABC News. There are concerns gaps in antenatal education are contributing to lifelong injuries and birth trauma. Rhiannon Hobbins from the Specialist Reporting Team has the story.
More than 300,000 babies are born in Australia each year, and most first-time parents attend birth education classes. But Alison Weatherstone from the Australian College of Midwives says the content and cost of these classes varies considerably.
Some hospitals offer a range of different education classes, others don't offer any at all. Some are virtual and some are face-to-face.
A national curriculum for antenatal education is in the early stages of development to provide evidence-based, accessible classes for all parents. Maternity experts say changes are vital to address the rates of birth trauma.
Azerbaijan has invited a United Nations mission to visit Nagorno-Karabakh amid a mass exodus from the disputed region. Noor Haydar reports.
Azerbaijan's foreign ministry says it will allow a UN mission to visit Nagorno-Karabakh in the coming days. There have been calls for international monitors to be given access to the region as tens of thousands of people flee. Close to 100,000 ethnic Armenians have left the enclave since Azerbaijan took control of the region in a swift military operation last week. Armenia says an ethnic cleansing is underway, an allegation which has been denied by Azerbaijan. Noor Haydar, ABC News.
The former New South Wales Liberal Party Deputy State Director Richard Shields has been appointed as the new State Director. Mr Shields worked as an advisor for former federal ministers Andrew Thompson and Senator Helen Coonan in the Howard government. He replaces outgoing State Director Chris Stone. Campfires have been banned in national parks on the state's south coast due to the forecast hot, dry and windy conditions. The Rural Fire Service says the far south coast, the upper central west plains and the northwestern regions all have high fire danger ratings today. Parks in other areas are under a total fire ban, including on the central coast, the Hunter region, the mid-north coast and the state's northwest. National Parks and Wildlife Service South Coast Regional Director Kane Weeks says only gas, liquid fuel stoves and electric barbecues can be used.
We're looking at high to extreme fire danger on the south coast, particularly down near Bega and the Shellhaven. And there's also another really hot, dry day scheduled for Tuesday next week.
Police and event organisers are urging people to celebrate safely at the Listen Out Music Festival, especially with the predicted heat. The festival gets underway later today at Centennial Park in Sydney's east. Police say there'll be a high visibility operation at the festival with over 27,000 people expected. A Collingwood pub manager says he's prepared for a win from the Magpies ahead of this afternoon's showdown against the Brisbane Lions in the AFL Grand Final. The teams will meet at the MCG this afternoon, 20 years since their last Grand Final face-off. Collingwood Hotel's John Doyle says fans have been donning their black and white scarves and jumpers all week in the lead-up to today's match.
We've been fully stocked up for weeks, preparing for a week and a half now. We know the numbers that are coming in. We know based off last year how busy it's going to be, and we're fully prepared for a Collingwood victory and a late one.
Spectators at the country's largest Indigenous community event say they can't believe how big it has become. More than 40,000 people are expected at Tuggerah on the state's central coast this long weekend for the 51st Koori Knockout. Lenny Wright's grandfather was one of the people who helped start the event in 1971. He says it's amazing how much it's grown.
In my lifetime, it's gone from, a normal size event to something off the scale. 40 to 50,000 people over the weekend to come and watch their team or their tribe or, their family members play in this big carnival.
And briefly in the NBL, the Wildcats have defeated the Jack Jumpers in their season opener in Perth, 101 points to 95. New import Jordan Usher finished with an incredible 35 points in his debut for the Wildcats. Dry and mostly sunny across the state. There's a strong wind warning for the Coffs, Macquarie and Hunter coasts. Sydney, mostly sunny and a top of 26 degrees, 33 in the west, 30 degrees in Newcastle. ABC News.
On ABC Newcastle, this is Saturday Breakfast with Emma Simkin.
Good morning, it's great to be with you this Saturday morning on ABC Newcastle. It's grand final weekend, in case you missed it. AFL, NRL, and of course the mighty Knights looking to go back-to-back in the NRLW. Listen to the surf, Dave Anderson. What have you got to offer us this morning?
G'day there, Emma. Yes, look, it's been a very hazy and humid morning, but that sun's just starting to break through now, so won't take long for this cloud to burn off. But the wind's also starting to freshen a little bit. That's coming in from the southwest at only around about 5 knots, but the swell has increased from yesterday and changed direction more to the south. The wave by the buoy, 1.4 metres at 13 seconds for 156 degrees, so we've got between 3 to 4 foot this morning. Conditions are just a little bit choppy, but still some nice waves. We've got a big incoming tide. That'll peak at 8:45, 1.8 metres. Extremely shallow low tide this afternoon at 3.2 of a metre. Water temperatures on 18 degrees. If you're going for a swim, please stick to the flagged areas. But surf-wise, we've got a Grom contest on here at Merriweather over the weekend, so some really good surfing off the rocks, but some nice waves down along the beach at Poggos, Dixon Park, the Alley and Carry Hole this morning. Currently there's 3 ships at anchor off port, but you cannot see them because of the mist. Down at Swansea Heads, very hazy there with west-southwest winds, only 1 knot. The bar is calm. Bridge openings at 7, 8, 11 and 1 o'clock. Half-metre seas and a 1 metre swell. And Port Stephens, the wind's around to the north-northeast there at 2 knots, but only 6 nautical miles of visibility. Inside waters are slight. No break in the shoals. Barometer there, 1,021. Currently.
And that's Dave giving us the update on the surf. It's news time.
Report on the Disability Royal Commission's recommendations expected next year. Firefighters and police on alert ahead of hot conditions this long weekend, and the clocks go forward tomorrow morning. It's 7 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Madeline Lewis with ABC News. The federal government says the report of the Disability Royal Commission is so extensive it will be next year before it can report on its implementation of the recommendations. Mary Lloyd reports.
The disability community heard yesterday that the government will set up a task force to work through the 222 recommendations from the Disability Royal Commission. NDIS Minister Bill Shorten said the commission was a historical moment and offered a way forward.
This is a vision for the future. This is the direction where we want to go.
Advocates have welcomed the report and said they will be looking to see changes in the lives of people with disability.
Murder charges have been laid in Las Vegas over the death of US rapper Tupac Shakur almost 30 years ago. North America correspondent Barbara Miller reports.
60-year-old Dwayne Davis, a.k.a. Keefe D, has been charged with murder over the drive-by shooting of Tupac Shakur in Las Vegas in September 1996. Lieutenant Jason Johansson from the Las Vegas Police Department said the suspect ordered the rapper's death in retaliation for an earlier fight.
Dwayne Davis was the shot caller for this group of individuals that committed this crime, and he orchestrated the plan.
The 25-year-old rapper, who'd sold more than 75 million records, died in hospital a week after the shooting. Barbara Miller, ABC News.
Maternity experts are calling for improvements to Australia's birth education system to help address rates of birth trauma. Rhiannon Hobbins from the specialist reporting team has the story.
An ABC investigation has heard from hundreds of women who didn't feel adequately informed from their antenatal classes. Alison Weatherstone from the Australian College of Midwives says birth education is inconsistent and needs to be overhauled.
So we need to ensure that the education we require at that minimum standard is accessible to all women living in Australia.
Medical experts say urgent reform is needed as the education gaps can contribute to lifelong injuries and birth trauma. Australia's national pregnancy care guidelines are currently being updated.
There are currently nearly 80 bushfires, grass fires and hazard reduction burns across New South Wales, with conditions forecast to deteriorate. The Rural Fire Service says all fires remain at advice level. RFS spokesperson Angela Burford says temperatures are set to hit the high 30s in parts of the state tomorrow.
We're on high alert as that's very likely to bring with it up to extreme fire danger ratings in some parts of the state. Our main concern, really the primary day of that real strong heat and potential winds is Sunday before we see a potential reprieve Sunday evening and into Monday.
The Hawkesbury region in Sydney's northwest is just one of many parts of New South Wales to face years of natural disasters, including the current threat of bushfires. Danuta Kazaki reports.
Hawkesbury Mayor Sarah McMahon says the community is still traumatised following several recent natural disasters.
Here in the Hawkesbury, we are very vulnerable to Mother Nature, and we've really felt that impact over the last few years, from the drought to the 19/20 bushfires to the 6 floods in under 3 years.
She says the community is well prepared.
We are having that conversation continuously with our community to be aware. There's a lot of undergrowth from the last 3 years of rain.
Councillor McMahon says most of the roads damaged by recent floods have been repaired, with no road closures in the area.
A sleep expert says the start of daylight saving can see some people feeling jet lag type symptoms. Tomorrow morning at 2 a.m, clocks will be put forward by 1 hour in the ACT, New South Wales, South Australia, Tasmania and Victoria. Sleep expert Emeritus Professor Leon Lack from Flinders University says it can be hard for some to lose that hour of sleep.
And that's not easy at this time of year. It requires us getting up basically an hour earlier than our body would like to get up and going to bed an hour earlier than our body would like to.
Drivers are being warned to plan ahead and allow plenty of extra travel time this long weekend. Live Traffic New South Wales is predicting heavy traffic for those travelling on the M1 Pacific Motorway, M11 Motorway and around Sydney Airport. Across the state, slow traffic is also expected for major highways heading towards the Blue Mountains and both the south and north coasts. A former Twitter executive is warning Elon Musk's takeover of the platform has made next month's Indigenous Voice to Parliament referendum an easy target for disinformation. Pat McGrath from ABC Investigations reports.
Yoel Roth was in charge of policing lies and abuse on Twitter until he quit shortly after Elon Musk took over in October last year. He says even though overall users have dwindled, the platform, now known as X, is still popular with journalists and politicians. The company has also scaled back monitoring of posts for misleading information. Yoel Roth says this makes X a potent force for disinformation, and the Voice is a prime target for foreign governments and extremists wanting to shift public debate. X did not respond to a request for comment.
Azerbaijan says it will allow a United Nations mission into Nagorno-Karabakh as thousands of people continue to flee the disputed region to Armenia. Noor Haydar has more.
More than 90,000 ethnic Armenians have fled Nagorno-Karabakh since Azerbaijan seized the territory from Armenian separatists in a military operation last week. While Azerbaijan says it will respect the rights of Armenians who choose to stay, those fleeing say they fear persecution. There have been calls for international monitors to be given access to the enclave, and Azerbaijan's foreign ministry now says it will allow a UN mission to visit in the coming days. Noor Haydar, ABC News.
Torrential downpours after a week of steady rainfall has triggered flash flooding in New York, disrupting the city's subway service and turning many streets into small lakes. The extreme downpour has prompted a state of emergency to be declared for New York City, Long Island and the Hudson Valley. Excited fans are gathering outside the MCG this morning to score an unreserved AFL Grand Final ticket, with some sleeping overnight to be first in line. Courtney Withers reports from the ground.
Excitement is building as fans continue to gather outside Gate 2 ahead of today's Brisbane and Collingwood clash and what's expected to be the warmest grand final day since 2015. Some fans have been lining up at the MCG for up to 3 days to get their hands on an unreserved Melbourne Cricket Club member ticket. Approximately 7,500 seats and 1,000 standing spaces will be made available on a first-in, first-served basis for members, with hordes of Pies fans in particular looking to secure a spot. The gates are expected to open at 8 o'clock this morning, with fans reminded running to seats is not permitted.
Tens of thousands of people are gathering on the Central Coast this weekend to attend one of Australia's biggest Indigenous community events. Kira Proust has more.
The 51st Koori Knockout showcases some of the best rugby league talent in the country, with 150 teams competing across the men's, women's and junior tournaments at Tuggerah this weekend. About 40,000 people are expected to attend, with temperatures forecast to get as high as 37 degrees tomorrow. Spectators say they can't believe how big the event has grown.
It's gotten bigger, it's getting bigger and better.
The men's tournament will kick off this morning following an official opening ceremony, which Federal Minister for Indigenous Australians Linda Burney will attend.
And now with more sport, here's Fraser Fife.
Penrith is set to face off against Brisbane in the NRL Grand Final decider in Sydney tomorrow. The Panthers are preparing for their fourth decider in a row and have a chance to win a third straight premiership, something that hasn't happened since Parramatta in 1983. Panthers coach Ivan Cleary says the key to their success is they love the game.
They love training, they love playing together. We see no end to this journey.
The Newcastle Knights believe they have what it takes to win Sunday's NRLW Grand Final against the Gold Coast Titans in Sydney. The Titans are vying for their first title, while the Knights are the defending champions. The Magpies and Lions face off this afternoon in this year's AFL Grand Final at the MCG. It's been 20 years since the teams last faced off in a decider. The Lions are aiming for their first premiership since 2004, while for the Pies, their first since 2010. And in the NBL, the Wildcats have defeated the Jack Jumpers in their season opener in Perth, 101 points to 95. The Brisbane Bullets also overcame a slow start to beat the Adelaide 36ers, 86 points to 71 in Brisbane.
To the weather, dry and mostly sunny across the state. There's a strong wind warning for the Coffs, Macquarie and Hunter coasts. Sydney's weather, mostly sunny and a top of 26 degrees, 33 in the west. A sunny afternoon in Newcastle, a top of 30 degrees. Sunny in the central west, 33 degrees in Dubbo. Sunny in the northern rivers and a top of 28 in Lismore.
An update on the roads, just as we were thinking everything was looking to be in order. There has been a crash in Mount Hutton on Newcastle Inner City bypass at Warners Bay Road. Lane 2 southbound is closed and emergency services are at the scene. So do take care out on the roads this morning.
What's on? I said, hey, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. What's on?
What's on? What's not on might be a better question. Cara O'Brien, producer, is in the studio. The sun is going to be shining all long weekend. We've got the NRLW in Sydney. A lot of people hopefully have managed to grab a ticket and are heading down to watch the Knights try and go back to back. But what's happening in and around Newcastle, Cara?
Oh, I know. I'm so sad I don't have a ticket, but I can't wait to watch it and listen to it. So if you are not going to Sydney to watch the Knights at the NRLW, there's lots to do here, and many of us will be heading to the beaches. As you said, it's a beautiful weekend. So if you're heading to the Bay, then there's a fun scavenger hunt for kids all around Nelson Bay. There's a map and questions to answer. They have to solve a mystery phrase which keeps them kind of walking. That and probably an ice cream at the end. Activity forms are available within the Visitor Information Centre in Nelson Bay. But if the beach isn't your thing, why not head to Sculpture on the Farm in Dungog, which is open all this weekend. And there are 155 works from 81 sculptures to enjoy. But in the city, First Nations culture will take centre stage this weekend as the 10-day new annual festival wraps up.
That when you plan these facilities, which are fantastic and bring tourism dollars to a region, just that you can't have the other infrastructure to go with it.
Yeah, that they just need to think about that.
Yeah,
they
they do.
On the upside, they can listen to ABC Newcastle.
They can listen in the car if you're heading down to the Koori Knockout today. The men in action. I think Latrell Mitchell apparently is playing for the Newcastle Yowies. Of course, the Newcastle All Blacks are the defending champions of the Koori Knockout. They chose the Regional Sports Centre as the venue, and due to the fact that they could have all those games in the one place at the one time, really hot conditions as well, plenty of water and ice and slushies being sold en masse yesterday. But that's certainly something that people might be heading down there to support some of the Newcastle Rugby League players that are playing in that competition today. Coming up shortly, we're going to find out get some
good evening. And of course, my name is Conklin and welcome to ABC's Newcastle and Hunter News. There are more than 80 bushfires, grass fires and hazard reduction burns across New South Wales, including in the Hunter, with conditions forecast to deteriorate. The RFS says all fires remain at advice level. An extreme fire danger rating is expected for the Greater Hunter tomorrow, with a top temperature of 35 degrees. Meanwhile, holidaymakers in New South Wales national parks have been warned to check conditions with hot and windy weather forecasts this long weekend. Parks in the Hunter region on the south coast, the central coast, the mid-north coast, and in the state's northwest are just some of the areas with a total fire ban. Police are investigating a two-car crash in the Hunter Valley. Officers were called to Waverley Street at Gundy at around 2 p.m. yesterday. A 57-year-old man and a 35-year-old woman were taken to hospital in a stable condition. 3 boys in one of the cars were not injured. The mighty Newcastle Knights are keen to bring home the trophy again tomorrow after the NRLW Grand Final against the Gold Coast Titans. The defending premiers are on a 9-game winning streak and head into tomorrow's final as favourites after securing the minor premiership. And tens of thousands of people are gathering on the Central Coast this weekend to attend one of Australia's biggest Indigenous community events. The 51st Koori Knockout showcases some of the best rugby league talent in the country, with 150 teams competing at tug rugby this weekend. Now for a look at the weather. And a sunny afternoon ahead with daytime maximum temperatures 28 to 33 degrees, 30 degrees for Newcastle, 32 degrees for Maitland, and 33 degrees for both Singleton and Scone. That's about it for now, and of course, go over Newcastle Knights.